Yang Berhormat Dato' Sri Mustafa Muhammad, Minister of International Trade and Industry Malaysia, Yang Berbahagia Dato' Nuraini Ahmad, Chairman of Matre, Yang Berhormat Dato' Chua Ti Yong, Deputy Minister MITI, Yang Berbahagia Dato' J. Siri, Secretary General MITI, Mr. Andrew Seal, Chairman, British Malaysian Chamber of Commerce, Yang Berbahagia Dato' Zulkifli Mahmud, CEO Matre, representatives from Malaysian companies, trade associations, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning and a warm welcome to this seminar program on Brexit and Malaysia, a new opportunity. To begin today's program, it gives me great pleasure to invite Yang Berbahagia Dato' Nuraini Ahmad, Chairman of Matre, to deliver the welcoming remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to everyone. Yang Berhormat Dato' Sri Mustafa Muhammad, Minister of International Trade and Industry, Excellency Victoria Treadle, British High Commissioner to Malaysia, Yang Berbahagia Dato' J. Jayasiri, Secretary General of MITI, Cik Ishamisa, Deputy Secretary General of MITI, Mr. Andrew Seal, Chairman of British Malaysian Chamber of Commerce, Yang Berbahagia Dato' Zulkifli Mahmud, Chief Executive Officer of Matre, members of the media, speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am indeed very pleased to see a large number of people in Matre Hall to attend this seminar on Brexit and Malaysia, a new opportunity and welcome to Matre. As a national trade promotion agency, Matre is responsible to spearhead the promotion of Malaysian goods and services in the international market. Today's event is part of Matre's continuous efforts to update the Malaysian business communities on the current situation relating to the UK market. The event of Brexit may create a different business environment, uncertainty, and it also creates new opportunities. It is important to ensure companies and exporters fully understand the situation and prepare themselves accordingly. This seminar comes at the right time, and among the objectives of this seminar are to highlight the impact of Brexit to the trade and investment, as well as to highlight the challenges and opportunities for companies post-Brexit. We hope that this seminar will enlighten the participants and help them to prepare for the realization of post-Brexit. So, ladies and gentlemen, Matre will continue to provide new information to our Malaysian companies on current issues and situation, hence assisting our exporters to increase their shares in global market. Therefore, I am looking forward to seeing more SMEs to engage with us to expand your business globally. I urge everyone to leverage on Matre services such as our export advisory services, market intelligence, business matching, and capacity building trainings. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wish all of you will have a very good seminar today, and good luck to every single one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yang Berhormat Dato'. Ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to invite Her Excellency Victoria Treadle, British High Commissioner to Malaysia, to deliver her speech.
Selamat pagi. Yang Berhormat Dato' Sri Mustafa Muhammad, Yang Berhormat Dato' Nuraini, Chairman of Matre, other dignitaries, it is an absolute pleasure to be here. What I want to try to do over the course of the next 25 minutes or so is to dispel a few myths, put the record straight, and tell you what it is Britain has done, what it is Britain is doing, and what Britain will continue to do. But let me just reflect on what a difference 2 months makes. It was on the 23rd of June, exactly 2 months ago, that the British people exercised their democratic right and voted in a historic EU referendum. The choice was simple: in or out of the EU. And I think if we're all honest, the result came as a surprise, if not a shock. Global markets reacted, the value of sterling fell, we saw a level of global volatility. We also saw different narratives begin to emerge: Britain closing off, Britain pulling away. But 2 months later, things have settled down, though no one underestimates the challenges ahead. So I do want to explain to you all today, to take this opportunity to tell you where we stand and what we are going to do about the decision by the British people. 52% of our voters chose to leave the EU. The first point, and it is an overused phrase, but I will repeat it again, because I think this is one of the myths. People still talk about it's not going to happen, there will be a change, something will come up, and Britain will remain in the EU. But our Prime Minister and our new government are very clear: Brexit means Brexit. But we will make a success of this. This is the hand that we have been dealt. So this is the hand that we have to play, and we have to find the best way forward. The first point, though, is to remind people that Britain is Britain. A lot of Malaysians have asked me, does this change our trading and investment relationship with Britain? And my answer is quite simple. No, in one sense, because our current trade and investment relationship with Malaysia is not governed through the prism of the EU. Yes, trade policy and the EU-Malaysia, EU FTAs are something that we do in partnership with our European partners. But right now, it is a bilateral trade and investment relation that we are working on and we planned to build on. So that much is business as usual. But in one sense, it will change in the coming years as Brexit presents new opportunities, and I will talk a bit more about it. I want to remind everyone about what Britain is. Britain is a great country, thriving and prospering in the world. Indeed, we have just shown the world how globally competitive we are by achieving second place in the medals table at the Rio Olympics. So if you doubt our spirit of endeavour, if you doubt our spirit of competition, if you doubt our ability to get on the front foot, to seize a momentum and build on it, please dispel those doubts now. In our post-Brexit reality, we see opportunity, whilst we clearly will not be complacent about the challenges ahead. But we will meet these challenges. Before I go into the detail of how we will deal with the agenda that we're now setting, the path that we are now beginning to define for our journey into a post-EU reality, I would like to remind you about who and what we are as a nation. Because there are those stories that Britain is shrinking. Well, how can Britain be shrinking when Britain remains a permanent member of the UN Security Council, whilst Britain remains a member of NATO, whilst Britain is a member of the G7 and the G20 and the Commonwealth? Our voice is prominent in the world stage. Our voice will continue to be prominent on the world stage. Britain is open for business, committed to peace and security, and Britain is a leading supporter of the international rules-based system. I don't know how anyone can ever say that Britain is closed for business. Of all the European countries, I think we are the ones who have embraced foreign investment in our nation like no other. Which car industry in Europe has allowed itself to be transformed, revitalised and re-energised quite like that in Britain? With Jaguar Land Rover, one of our two of our great premium brands, now having Indian parentage, but no less great British brands manufactured in our country. This is our willingness to invite foreign investment because we know what it does for our economy, creating new jobs, saving entire industries. There would not be a British car industry today had we not been open to Toyota, Nissan, BMW owning Mini and Rolls-Royce, and as I said, Tata Motors acquiring Jaguar Land Rover. We are exporting more British-made cars today than we ever have done in our history, and that is because we have embraced foreign investment into what one might call iconic industries in our country. So we're not afraid of competition, we are open to it. More importantly, on a global stage, to keep the world a stable and secure place so that our people across the world, the economies of our closest allies and friends and trading partners can prosper. We are committed to our extensive security cooperation, and as international partners, we believe we will remain steadfast. We are the only major country which will simultaneously meet the NATO target of spending 2% of our GDP on defence and the United Nations target of spending 0.7% of our GNI on development. When we talk about Britain in the world, let me give you a small example of one of our projects that we're doing in Syria. Hundreds of thousands of displaced Syrians in refugee camps, amongst them hundreds of thousands of children. Our Department for International Development is underwriting a £40 million education programme in those refugee camps in Syria and Iraq to guarantee the refugee children their right to education. That is what Britain does in the world. And whilst our future relationship with the EU is still to be determined, let me remind people that we are not leaving Europe. There is a difference between our membership of the European Union and our credentials as Europeans. We will want the strongest possible economic links with our European neighbours, as well as our close friends in North America, the Commonwealth, and other important partners around the world. And next year, we will be hosting in London a meeting of the Commonwealth Trade Ministers to discuss intra-Commonwealth trade, to look at how we can seize a new initiative, to build on it, to reinvigorate it, and Britain will want to play a leading part in that. With our new government, we have our marching orders from Theresa May. We will be more active. We will be more outward-facing. We will be more energetic on the world stage than ever before. This will not be a shrinking Britain. This will be a Britain out on its front foot, promoting our business relationships around the world, seeking new opportunities for them, and playing our part internationally to secure stability and security in the world today. We will hold fast to a vision of a Britain that is respected abroad, and we know respect has to be earned, and we will play our part to earn it. A Britain that will be tolerant at home. And the stories of Britain as a racist country is not a Britain that I recognise. And I suspect most of our Malaysian friends in this room who regularly travel to Britain find it a cosmopolitan, open and hospitable country. And as I often say, how can people talk about a Britain in the way that they do? Yes, I do believe there has been an unnecessary and unfortunate reaction by a tiny minority in the UK, having secured the vote to leave the EU, to turn around to recent migrants and tell them that they can go home. Our politicians have absolutely been clear on this issue. Our Prime Minister has been unequivocal. We have laws in Britain against inciting racial or religious hatred and violence. And if we find people breaching those laws, we will take them to book. We will hold them accountable for their actions, and justice will be served, because there is no place in British society for that kind of behaviour. And our senior politicians have made that very clear. And let me remind all of you about modern Britain being a multiracial Britain, with policies on equal opportunities, on celebrating our diversity and the unity that we can achieve by celebrating that diversity. I stand here as a British High Commissioner born in Ipoh, who grew up here for the first 8 years of my life. That speaks of a Britain that provides opportunities to migrants. My colleagues in Manila, Asif Askbed, who's our ambassador there, his family came to Britain from Bangladesh. My colleague, the ambassador in Jakarta, Mirza Malik, whose family came to Britain from Pakistan. This is a Britain of equality. This is not a Britain of racism. So let me dispel that myth. And therefore we feel, as a modern multiracial Britain that stands for those issues, that we will continue to play our role to promote universal human rights as an integral part of building prosperity and stability around the world. And on that, we will champion things like women's rights within human rights, because the economic and political empowerment of women will be fundamental to any nation's growth. We need to see more women in parliaments around the world, more women at the board table around the world, and we will play our part to champion that too. Because economic success is equally dependent on social capital and development, and we will champion that too. And we know that the place of education is fundamental to any nation realizing its potential. So right here in Malaysia, we have identified education as one of the key pillars of our relationship with Malaysia. We have our Education is Great campaign that we are rolling out across Malaysia. And working with Malaysia, we're going to take this campaign across all other 9 ASEAN countries. We have invested in Malaysia with education. There are 5 British University branch campuses in this country and dozens of British international schools. We are helping Malaysia to deliver on its education blueprint ambition to make Malaysia an education destination in Asia. And we will continue to do that. Britain will work through multilateral organisations as well as bilaterally and with all like-minded countries, therefore, to champion human rights, democracy, the rule of law, including the separation of powers and the need for robust institutions. Because for economies to realise their full potential, those are the fundamentals for success, for vibrant societies to be able to express themselves, for the freedoms to drive the private sector and to drive the economy, for open minds and critical thinking. Prime Minister Najib last week at the Blue Ocean Strategy Summit said that Malaysia would be a country driven by creativity and innovation. Creativity and innovation comes from having young people open to the world. We will share our experience from Britain, one of the most creative and innovative countries in the world. We will look for collaborations with Malaysia to see how we can do that, how we can bring new industries in these new weightless economy to help Malaysia realize its ambition. As our new Foreign Secretary, a friend of Malaysia, who was my first VIP visitor when I first took over this job, when he visited Malaysia as the Mayor of London. But now in his new role, he has made this point, and I will share it again with you. Whilst we are leaving the European Union, we will not be leaving Europe. We fully expect to remain closely aligned with our European neighbours on related issues, as well as all our like-minded international partners. We will play our part in Europe's security. Our businesses are interlinked. So in any new deal that we negotiate, we want a smooth transition. We want the best outcome for Europe and the best outcome for Britain. And some people say you can't have both. Well, we believe we have to start our negotiating position believing that we can have a win-win result. Let me give you some examples. For those of you who have a BMW, if you pop open the bonnet, 5 out of every 10 BMW engines are made in Coventry in England. To say that we can carve up a different relationship with Europe that does not account for the free movement of the supply chain between our countries would be madness. If you think about Airbus as an industry based in France, the wings, the avionics, and if people choose Rolls-Royce Aero engines, they all are manufactured in England. So Airbus will want the free movement of their vital British supply chain. Those are things we think give us a very strong hand in our negotiation with the new relationship that we will have with Europe. Our new Trade Secretary, where once we had one Trade Minister, we now have a whole new Department of State, Department for International Trade. And Dr. Liam Fox is our Trade Secretary, and he is supported by 3 ministers. They will be travelling the world, pushing the agenda on trade investment. And indeed, only last night, Dr. Liam Fox had a telephone conversation with Dr. Sri Mustafa to talk about our relationship. But I will leave that for Dr. Sri to comment on. Liam Fox has said that there are 3 key reasons why we should be confident about our economic future. And I will share these with you because they will frame our agenda with Malaysia too. Firstly, investment. And I actually explained to people, as I touched on a little bit earlier, why the UK is and will, we believe, remain one of the world's most attractive destinations for foreign direct investment. Secondly, the British people's historic decision to leave the EU presents us not with a problem, but an exciting new opportunity that we will seize. And thirdly, as I have alluded to, we have restructured Whitehall to meet the challenge of our reinvigorated place in the world with a real focus on boosting our exports and attracting investment. And if you think about it, the 23rd of June, 2 months ago today, it took us 2 weeks to see a whole new cabinet led by a new Prime Minister come in. And when the vote first came out, we thought we had a 9.5 to 10 week transition to the next Prime Minister. But it only took 2 weeks. The pace of change since has been something I have never seen in my entire professional career. Not only do we have a new Prime Minister and effectively a new cabinet and government, but we have seen the restructuring of the architecture in Whitehall. 2 whole new departments of state have been created. As I referred to it, the Department for International Trade, to do exactly what it says on the tin, to promote our trade and investment relationship with the world. To look at the new frontiers and how far we can push the envelope, to see how we can further engage, deepen and broaden our trading and investment relationship with the world, and Malaysia in that. The next whole new Department of State that we have put in, that is being resourced and built up even as I speak, is the Department for the Exit of Europe. Again, to do exactly what that department's title suggests, led by David Davis. And that is first to work out what our plan is, to map it out and have a clear idea that before we start negotiating our new terms with the EU, to have clarity on exactly what it is we want. And in those negotiations, to get the best outcome for Britain. Now, some of you may be wondering what this timetable unfolds. And you will have heard about Article 50, which is the article in the Lisbon Treaty that allows member states to declare their wish to depart the European Union. Right now, Britain remains a member of the European Union. So let me dispel that other myth. We haven't left the EU yet. But we will, and this is the process broadly that lies ahead of us. Theresa May has made it clear, our new Prime Minister, that Article 50 will not be invoked this year. In all likelihood, it will be invoked next year. There is no decision yet on timing. There is a lot of speculation. Will it be in the first half of next year, or will it be in the second half of next year? Will we hold back whilst we wait the outcome of the French and German general elections? Those are the issues that we are looking at now. But when Article 50 is invoked, sometime next year, it opens a 2-year time frame during which we negotiate our exit. So that is what the Department for the Exit of Europe will do, to prepare us for that moment when we invoke Article 50, and once Article 50 is invoked, to carry out the negotiations to set the new terms of the UK's relationship with the European Union. And people talk about, will Britain go after the Nordic model, or maybe it will be the Canadian model? Well, again, my new Prime Minister, Theresa May, has been very clear. It will be no one's model, but the new British EU model. And we will define it and negotiate it on terms, hopefully, to ensure that smooth transition, that it will be a win-win for Europe and for Britain. And what are our bottom lines? Well, the British public have to be taken seriously. It goes back to respecting the vote of the people. And clearly, one of the issues that the British people had was a desire to see greater control on the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, who have migrated from Europe to Britain. The only part of our visa regime that we can control are actually the countries that fall within our visa regime. So to manage migration, we have squeezed the visa regime countries that we have. And we have not been able to do anything with the millions of migrants that have come to the UK. From a British perspective, there is a distinction between the free movement of people and the free movement of labour. Britain, post our membership of the EU will still need skills and labour from Europe and the rest of the world. We need it in our agricultural sector, we need those skills in our hospitality industry, we need skills for our professional and related services. The City of London depends on a lot of foreign experts being part of our vibrant offer. But that is certainly one thing that we will be looking for in our new terms with the EU, an ability to control the flow of people from Europe to the UK. And the other thing that we are starting, in terms of our starting position, is that we want access to the common market. So that's what we will be negotiating for. And we don't underestimate the challenge in negotiating, but that is what we are determined to deliver on. And if you think about our economy, it has been growing. Since 2010, 300,000 new jobs have been created by companies that have chosen to locate in the UK, never mind indigenous job creation. Last year saw Britain achieve a record share of the EU's foreign direct investment. Why should a country like the UK, that only represents 13% of the EU's population, succeed in getting 21% of its total investment? The answer lies in our strong underlying economic fundamentals. And those fundamentals have not changed because we have chosen to leave the EU. And indeed, securing those fundamentals is what we are absolutely focused on doing in the coming years. And remember, when Article 50 is invoked, it's a 2-year time frame. So we're looking at the back end sometime in 2019, 20 even, before we actually leave the EU. And between now and then, our fiscal and our economic policies will come into yet sharper focus as we strengthen our economy to deal with that new reality. So let's look at the economic fundamentals of Britain. We have seen the numbers in employment rise to an all-time high, unemployment fall to an 11-year low below 5%. These are the results of a level of growth that even post-Brexit, the International Monetary Fund expects to be the highest in the European Union. We start from a position of strength and we intend to finish in a position of strength. We have a system of contractual law that gives investors the highest possible levels of confidence, overseen by an internationally respected and totally independent judiciary. This is why I say, for true economic success, you need to have strong and robust institutions. And education, I mentioned earlier, we have a skilled workforce and low levels of industrial disruption because we have good labour laws. People rightly talk about London as an international financial and cultural powerhouse, but how many people know that the northeast of England as a region now exports more cars than the whole of Italy? So when I talk about being open to foreign investment, the majority of those cars exported from the northeast of England are made by Nissan in Britain. And 2 of Nissan's most recent models were wholly designed, conceptualized, and engineered in Britain, the Nissan Qashqai and the Nissan Juke. We brought new creativity and innovation to Nissan's global brand, made in Britain. We have a low-tax economy with some of the lowest business taxes in Europe and have one of the largest regulated economies. Our corporate tax rates are amongst the lowest in the G20 and are set to get even lower. We have an internationally respected research base and some of the best universities in the world. We are home to 18 of the world's top 100 universities and 4 of the top 10. And we will fight hard to shore up that capability, that record, that pedigree, and we don't intend to give it up. In areas such as financial services, we have an unrivaled professional class able to give support. We have the natural advantage of speaking English, the business language of the world, the language of diplomacy, and indeed the official language of ASEAN. And we are in the perfect time zone for global trade. We can conclude business with China in the morning and resume business with the US in the afternoon. And in terms of our bilateral trade relations with countries such as Malaysia, where you have a presence in business, our global offer is equally your global offer. And let's not forget the quality of life issues that make living in the UK so attractive to those outside. These are the UK's unique selling points. And if we continue to harness these properly, as we intend to do, investment will keep flowing to our shores, and our trade and investment relationships with countries like Malaysia will naturally go from strength to strength. Let's take a couple of the big recent deals that were announced post the decision to leave the EU. Last month, a record inward investment of £24 billion by Japan's software bank was indeed a resounding vote of confidence in Britain as a future hub of open trade, prosperity, and stability. We are seeing increased interest from Malaysian companies in the UK, and I know there has been nervousness because many of the recent Malaysian investments in the UK have been in property, development and regeneration projects. Battersea as the prime example. And we are determined to lean in, to work with Malaysian developers and companies, to reassure them and support them, to connect them with our local authorities, with the relevant government agencies, to overcome any barriers or hurdles to their investments. We did it with Battersea, and we want to go beyond, and we will do so. Indeed, he's not here now, but he was at the breakfast earlier with Dato Sri Mustafa, Sir Edward Lister, who used to be Boris Johnson's deputy mayor and is now a special advisor to our regeneration and infrastructure organisation, set up precisely to work with foreign investors in property development and regeneration and infrastructure projects, is doing the rounds in KL over the last few days and today to see how we can further help Malaysian interests realise the economic potential for them of investments in the UK. And Dr. Fox has made it very clear as well that this is not just about attracting investments to Britain. It is about what we do in terms of our outward flow of investments to help British companies internationalise. We want to see more British investment in Malaysia. We believe that Malaysia is a great hub for British business in Southeast Asia and the wider Asia-Pacific region. Indeed, many British companies have already chosen to make Malaysia their regional or Asia hub. The top 20 to 24 UK companies in Malaysia, we did a survey last year and we've just rejigged the figures. The top 20 to 24 UK companies in Malaysia employ about 80,000 people. That is 80,000 jobs just from those 20 to 24 companies. The These companies' total investments here in Malaysia are valued at around 90 billion Malaysian ringgit. And as we were discussing at breakfast, we believe that there are many more companies that we haven't counted, and the real figure of our presence will be much greater than that. But with each British investment that comes here, it is not just about the jobs that they directly create, the new jobs that they establish, but it is also the supply chain industries that grow up as a result. So if we take Dyson, it's not just the 1,000 young Malaysian engineers that they employ, increasingly moving into that creative and innovative space of engineering, not just taking the designs from the UK, but adding value and coming up with their own designs. It is the 12,000 supply chain jobs that Dyson have created as a result of their presence. If you take a company like BAE Systems that has been here for decades, some of their big defence sales projects here in Malaysia, the offset package has created new industries and new employment here in Malaysia. And just a couple of months ago, I visited their artificial intelligence business and met some of their 300 young Malaysians working in this new industry, serving not just Malaysian but global clients in the whole applied intelligence space. And I know that there are plans to grow that business and scale it up so that we will reach about 1,000 Malaysian employees. And the average age of these employees is between 26 to 30. These are the jobs for young, aspirational Malaysians. And if you think about Malaysia by 2030, 70% of Malaysia's population is going to be under 30. So we know with each of these investments from Britain, we're helping to create the jobs that that future generation of Malaysians are going to need. And we are proud to be able to support you in that endeavour. And people say that when we leave the EU, we will stop supporting the EU's work on FTAs. Can I dispel that myth as well? Between now and whenever it is we do leave the EU with our new terms of what our relationship with the EU will be, I and my team will work hard with our EU colleagues here in Malaysia to progress the EU-Malaysia FTA and hopefully get that back on track, to work across the ASEAN region for the EU-ASEAN FTA. Why? Because we believe in free trade, because we want to see markets open up. Why would we stop backing the very thing we say we are all about? And at that point in the future, we will then also wish to negotiate our own FTAs. So we will continue to support EU FTAs. We will continue to support the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership and the Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement, and encourage an ever more liberal approach to the service sector, including financial services. As we enter this new era, we need to take account of the changing patterns of trade across the globe. We are moving away from an era when multilateral agreements dominated the landscape to one where bilateral free trade agreements and plurilateral agreements between small numbers of countries in trading blocs are becoming more common. In the past 20 years, the number of free trade agreements in place has increased more than fourfold. And as we leave the European Union, as I have said, the United Kingdom will want to play a full part in global trade liberalisation, utilising all the tools available to us and drawing on our own experience of being an open economy. Flexibility and agility will be the key to economic success in the 21st century. Leaving the EU gives us back control of our own trade policy to set our own terms with the rest of the world. We will have the opportunity to make our tax systems even more competitive, take an axe to the red tape that can hinder business, and shape a bright future for the UK as a beacon of free trade and open markets. And in due course, we will set out our own very ambitious programme of free trade areas with some of the most important and growing economies, including that with Malaysia. Clearly, Malaysia will take its place in any prioritisation of countries for FTAs. Now, I will not raise expectations, but just to be clear that there is a process ahead that we will follow. We will follow the rules that govern us as long as we remain a member of the EU. We will reach new terms with the EU, and then we will move forward to the negotiations for our FTAs with other countries. And we will recruit, because we have to, having not done it for ourselves for a long time. We will recruit and train many more trade experts so that we are match fit to negotiate the best for Britain. And this process has already started with the establishment of our Department for International Trade. And our ability to change external tariffs will enable us to help some of the world's poorest countries to trade their way out of poverty. A world of open trade will not only generate prosperity, but will also promote peace and stability. Throughout all of this, we will draw on the quintessential British values of democracy, freedom, and the rule of law, which have already transformed much of our world. And we can start afresh and use our unique attributes to create a fairer, prosperous, and more open trading future for the UK and the rest of the world. This is not a Britain closing up. This is a Britain open to the world. This is global Britain. The UK will remain a fantastic place with which to do business. Investment will continue to flow, and it will be a two-way flow agenda. And British goods will still adorn the supermarket shelves like Tesco's here, or any one of the Jardine outlets, and homes of customers around the world. We are open for business, and we look forward to developing our relationship with Malaysia in that context. This is our new Brexit reality. It's building on our past, on the solid foundations that we have, on our strong economic fundamentals, and our desire to have the best relationship that we possibly can have with Malaysia. This is Global Britain. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure to now invite Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Mustafa Mohamad, Minister of International Trade and Industry, Malaysia, to deliver his keynote address.
Excellency Vicky Treadle, British High Commissioner to Malaysia, Yang Berhormat Datuk Nurani Ahmad, Chairman of Madrid, Datuk Jayasiri, Secretary General of MITI, Datuk Zul, CEO of Madrid, Mr. Andrew Sill, Chairman of the British Malaysia Chamber of Commerce, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Very good morning, and let me begin by commending the organizers for putting together a very important program. My colleagues in MITI and Madrid, of course the British High Commission, UKTI and the British Malaysian Chamber of Commerce. Let me commend all of them for organizing this seminar one morning seminar, Brexit and Malaysia, a new opportunity. A big hand to all of them. Secondly, let me thank all of you. This is a full house. We expect about 430 or thereabouts. I've been informed there's 500 of you. This has been oversubscribed. Obviously, there's been a lot of interest in this subject, a very important matter for us to deliberate. There's a need to promote understanding of what the vote means. There's a need to know what's in store for the future. And I believe it is for those reasons that you're all here this morning. So let me thank you for your kind support to this program. Indeed, Madrid has been bringing people from throughout the country, throughout the world, to have a better understanding of trade policies, trade issues. We have provided this platform in the past many years, and Madrid will continue to play a constructive role in promoting understanding of some current issues and challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, last night I had a phone conversation with Dr. Fox, Liam Fox, the new Trade Secretary of the UK, and in that conversation, he, among others, assured me that, as mentioned by the High Commissioner, Britain is open for business, and indeed, perhaps Britain will be even more open for business going forward. It is not true that Britain is becoming more inward-looking. It is not true that Britain is withdrawing from the world, and I'm so pleased that Dr. Fox and his colleagues in the UK have a program to visit a number of countries, including those of us in ASEAN. We had a very good conversation, and we, of course, went through the various strengths and relationship, economic ties, commercial ties, education, and all the rest of it. And it is most assuring that one of our partners in the world, UK, has been a good partner to Malaysia, will continue to engage with this country. Britain has been a very open society. Britain was where free trade started. Britain was the place where the invisible hand was first mooted. Adam Smith. Britain was the birth of John Maynard Keynes and many other, Alfred Marshall and others, very prominent economists. Britain has been a free country, and Britain has exported the English language to Malaysia. Britain has exported parliamentary democracy to Malaysia. Britain has exported the concept of a constitutional monarch to Malaysia. And there are many other examples. Malaysia has benefited from very close ties with the UK. And we have read a lot about colonialism. We have read about some of the atrocities committed by some colonial masters. Fortunately for Malaysia, we did not go through that experience. It wasn't, of course, entirely smooth, but Britain has been a good colonial master in the sense that we've been able to obtain from Britain lots of ideas, lots of concepts, and to this very day, many of these ideas are concepts, and concepts are being implemented in our country, Malaysia. So Britain has been an open country. Britain has become very multiracial. Britain was once the biggest military power on earth. We are a very big maritime nation. Ships from the UK went throughout the world, including to Malaysia. Although Britain is not the #1 power in the world, but Britain continues to be one of the biggest military powers in the world and one of the biggest economic powers in the world. So Malaysia has enjoyed very close ties with Britain through education, military ties, sports, football, culture, and many others. And Malaysia has also been exporting some Malaysians to the country. Some Malaysians are doing well in Britain. Ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia continues to be open for business as well. UK has been open for business. Malaysia has been open for business. And we look at investment and trade ties between Malaysia and our friends in the UK and others as mutually beneficial. It is a win-win situation. It is not a win-lose situation. It is a win-win situation. The High Commissioner spoke about the strong trade and investment ties between Malaysia and UK. In this country, we have Tesco, we have Jardine, we have a big security company, we have HSBC, we have Standard Chartered Bank, and many, many others. Many, you name it, Dyson, there are many companies. And I must say that many of these companies are not known to Malaysians. Many Malaysians are not aware that there's a huge British presence in Malaysia. At the same time, we have a growing Malaysian presence in the UK. Although a lot of that is in the property sector, there is more and more Malaysian interests in manufacturing, in services, in utilities. So it has been mutually beneficial. And as mentioned by the High Commissioner, foreign investments in this country from the UK and many other countries have been instrumental in creating lots of job opportunities. The 20 companies the High Commissioner highlighted, those 20 companies alone employ 80,000 Malaysians. Two months ago, I visited 100% owned subsidiary of Standard Chartered Bank out in Singapore Sea. This company is called Scope International, and in this company there are about 5,000 people working there. 80% of them are Malaysians, and most of them are graduates. So these are some examples of the contribution of British investments to Malaysia, and trade as well. The universities, the 5 universities here, Nottingham, and Newcastle, and Heriot-Watt, and a few others, Marlborough College, Epsom College, some of the leading British institutions of this country. So our ties are strong, and Brexit, we don't believe Brexit will undo these very strong ties between Malaysia and Britain, as articulated by the British High Commissioner. Having said that, of course, there are fears. 2 months ago, exactly 2 months ago, 23rd of June, there was a very historic moment. I was telling the High Commissioner this morning that if Malaysians could vote, then Britain would probably remain in the EU. I would say the majority of Malaysians are supportive of Britain remaining in the EU. There are many Malaysians who want Britain to continue to be part of the EU. But the British people have made a decision. As part of the democratic process, a decision has been made. And as mentioned by the High Commissioner, there was a very smooth and quick transition. Theresa May is now the Prime Minister, taking over from David Cameron. We look forward to a visit to Malaysia to once again reestablish the very strong ties between Malaysia and UK. So there's been a lot of apprehension. If you read the international media, a lot of negative write-ups about Brexit. This is anti-globalization. Britain will suffer the loss of jobs in the city of London. Manufacturing will leave Britain. There's so many negative stories about Britain leaving the UK, leaving the EU, and that's a fact. The fact is that the first 1 or 2 weeks of the vote, post 23rd of June, there's been quite a bit of negative write-up about the impact of Britain leaving the EU. That was the first few weeks. But I must say, we're going to the 3rd month. 2 months have elapsed since that vote, the historic vote on 23rd of June. The dust, as they say, has settled. And people are beginning to realize that business is going back to usual. And people are beginning to realize that there will be opportunities arising from this departure of the UK from the EU. So we're here, ladies and gentlemen, to understand what Brexit is all about. Firstly, to understand what it means to Malaysia, what it means to the world, and equally important, what opportunities it presents to Malaysians and Malaysian businesses. There's a huge British presence in Malaysia. More and more Malaysian companies are invested in the UK, and I don't see this departure of UK will have an impact on British investments in Malaysia. Neither will it have a big impact on Malaysian investments in the UK. So going forward, we believe that ties between Malaysia and UK will continue to be strong. I hope in the course of today's discussion, we will be talking about new opportunities. We'll be talking about new businesses. We'll be talking about collaboration between Malaysian and UK companies. Not only to explore markets here in the UK, but also beyond Malaysia and ASEAN. ASEAN is growing rapidly, and we believe that British companies will continue to have a strong interest in ASEAN. Similarly, for Malaysia, UK has been the stepping stone to Europe. UK has been the base for Malaysian companies to expand into some of the parts of Europe. Khazanah in May opened its office, the Europe office at the Shard in London. In May 2016, Khazanah opened his office in London for Europe. So this demonstrates Malaysia's commitment not only to the UK but also to Europe. And it was at that particular event that our Prime Minister met the new Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. Britain is so multinational, multicultural. Boris Johnson was mayor, he came here, a very popular figure. When he came here, I remember that. I had an opportunity to meet him over lunch when Boris Johnson was here. He's now Foreign Secretary, and our Prime Minister had the opportunity to meet Sadiq Khan in May 2016 when he opened the new Khazanah office for Europe. So all these things go to show that Malaysia continues to have an interest in the UK and Europe. And as I said, the dust is settling. Of course, the dust is not completely settled. There are a few things to be ironed out, but basically, I think it's important for us to have a true understanding, an accurate picture of what this whole episode is all about, what's in store for us. This is a very important forum. Therefore, I would like to welcome our speakers this morning. Mr. Stephen Hill is going to be the moderator, Mr. Matt Chandran, Mr. Nick White, Mr. Nick Lower, Mr. Paul Matthew, all these gentlemen. Unfortunately, no ladies, there's no gender balance here. Four gentlemen plus one moderator. Next time, we'll have a policy, whatever programs in Madrid, the chairman is a lady, therefore we need to have some gender balance. We'll bear that in mind for the future. We'll bear that in mind for the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, on the Malaysian side, I want to reiterate our desire to continue enhancing ties between Malaysia and the UK. Secondly, what happened on the 23rd of June, exactly 2 months ago, was a decision of the British people with which we respect, and the dust is settling, and one day the dust will settle, and the strong ties between Malaysia and the UK across a broad front, education, defense, services, culture, of course, trade, investments, foreign policy will continue. Britain has been a strong supporter of Malaysia in many of our initiatives. We work closely, MITI, Madrid, we work closely with the British High Commission on many subjects, and will continue to work closely to promote mutually beneficial ties. It's going to be a win-win situation. More investments from the UK to Malaysia will benefit Malaysia and UK. More trade between Malaysia and the UK will benefit both Malaysia and the UK. So I would like to reiterate our commitment to work closely with the British commercial community, business community, and I would like to assure you that Malaysia will continue to have a strong interest in the UK, given the long-standing ties, and I believe that UK companies will continue not only to have a strong interest, but they will put more money, they will invest more in this country, not only to exploit the opportunities in this country, but also to go beyond Malaysia into ASEAN and many other parts of Asia. So once again, let me commend my team in MITI and Madrid for organizing this seminar. Let me thank the British High Commission and UKTI and the British Malaysia Chamber of Commerce for organizing this very important program. And I'm sure that at the end of this seminar, you're going to be very clear about what Brexit is all about, and more importantly, you're going to be even more aware of some new opportunities which will crop up in the next few months going forward. We hope to be able to continue working closely with the British business community in this country to promote more investments into Malaysia. On a final note, as an indication of our continued confidence in the UK, I'm organizing a fairly big business seminar in the UK at the end of September. In the last 6 years, we've been organizing what we call Malaysia Night at Trafalgar Square. One day, Saturday in September, for the last 6 years, we've been having this Malaysia Night. This year, we are not only going to organize this Trafalgar Square Malaysia Night, we're going to expand beyond that. We're going to add elements of tourism, we're going to inject programs involving investment and trade as well. It's going to be over 4 days. It's been a Saturday in the past for the past 6 years, promoting Malaysian restaurants, Malaysian food. This time it's going to be Malaysian food, Malaysian restaurants. Tourism, education is going to be paid investments over 4 days. So 1 day in the last 6 years. This year is going to be 4 days from Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. This is a vote of confidence in the future of Britain. On that note, thank you. Have a good seminar. Terima kasih.